Before big business swept the globe, royal families controlled all of the wealth on Earth. Although these families have faded into history, their amazing architecture stands the test of time. Today, we're looking inside the most luxurious castles in the world. Number 10. Topkapi Palace. I still remember my first trip to Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. The Turkish castle was home to Ottoman sultans in the 15th and 16th century, but more than 400 years later, it is still fit for a king. Overlooking the beautiful Bosphorus Strait, this luxurious palace is now a museum. It was designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1985, and it is truly a must-see attraction if you ever visit Turkey. With 4 courtyards, an ornate gate, and a harem, Topkapi had plenty of room for royals to lounge and enjoy themselves. The former imperial treasury is now home to an exhibit that showcases elaborately designed Ottoman armor and weapons. There is a portrait gallery that exhibits the masterful Ottoman artwork from across the centuries. And of course, no Turkish palace would be complete without an elaborate bath complex for relaxing and beautifying. Add an aviary and enormous flowering gardens, and Topkapi is easily one of the most luxurious castles in the world. Number 9. Stirling Castle. Stirling Castle dominates the skyline above the eponymous town of Stirling, Scotland. Historically, the fortress was placed on top of Castle Hill so that its residents could watch for attackers. The castle was the residence of several Scottish kings and queens in the 15th and 16th century, but it is now a tourist attraction. The first buildings from Stirling Castle were built in 1490. It was used as the principal royal centre by the kings James IV, James V, and James VI. The architecture of these new buildings shows an eclectic mix of English, French, and German influences. Apparently, these kings had good taste because more than 500 years later, this military fortress is still renowned for its amazing architecture. After investing £12 million in restoration, the castle hosts a tapestry gallery, restored bedrooms, and ornate fireplaces. If you visit the ramparts, you will see original cannons pointed over a beautiful view of the Scottish countryside. These days, Stirling Castle also functions as a concert venue. Artists like Bob Dylan, Ram, and Rod Stewart use the castle as a backdrop in their concert films. Number 8. Eltz Castle. First constructed in 1137, Eltz Castle rises dramatically from the German forest near Trier. The Romanesque castle was home to the Holy Roman Empire and the lords of Eltz. This royal family opposed the rule of the local archbishop, and the diocese began a siege that lasted 2 years. In fact, this hardy castle has survived many battles, but it still maintains its beauty and stature almost 1,000 years later. Like most modern castles, Eltz is now a museum. A favorite among visitors is the treasury, with gold, silver, and porcelain artifacts, and the armory of weapons and suits of armor. This shows just how rich the Eltz family truly was. The dynasty owned numerous properties over the centuries, but lost most of its wealth in the 1800s. In fact, many of the Eltz immigrated to the United States in the 1700s, and some even took part in the Revolutionary War. Number 7. Windsor Castle. Back in the 11th century, William the Conqueror took his hoarded wealth and invested in Windsor Castle. The English palace is still the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. Unlike many of the other castles on this list, Windsor Castle is still in use as a royal residence. Queen Elizabeth II reportedly enjoys visiting Windsor on the weekends. The British royal family frequently hosts visiting heads of state to impress them with the absolutely amazing castle and surrounding gardens. I personally had the privilege to visit Windsor Castle with some special VIPs who I'll keep anonymous. One of my favorite features is the idyllic woodlands surrounding the palace. This forest is one of the oldest broadleaf woodlands in Europe. They were originally used as hunting grounds, but but now they are used for recreation, farming, and relaxing strolls. According to a 2017 report, Windsor Castle is worth around $236 million. Of course, this is far from the most expensive property owned by the royal family. Buckingham Palace alone is valued at over $5 billion. Number 6. Chateau Chambord. Chateau Chambord is debatably the most elegant property in all of France. Construction began all the way back in 1519, and it was completed decades later in 1547. It was first built as a hunting lodge for Francis I, but it was converted into an incredible palace. The French royals were infamous for their accumulation of wealth through the 1700s. This led to the French Revolution, where starving French citizens overthrew the royal family. Afterward, many of the furnishings in Chateau Chambord were sold or stolen. It's difficult to choose the most luxurious feature of Chateau Chambord, but visitors always notice the twin stone spiral staircases leading from the ground floor to the second floor. The palace is surrounded by 13,000 acres of park and game reserve, with native red deer and many other animals. These days, Chateau Chambord is a popular tourist attraction that hosts more than 700,000 visitors each year. Number 5. And sword of the former king. The more than 2 million annual visitors can enjoy historical reenactments of former battles in addition to traditional Scottish songs and customs. A time signal that has been in use since 1861. This classical tradition helps to connect this ancient castle to its previous incarnation as a defensive fortress. Number 3. Versailles Palace. Until 1661, Versailles was only a small hunting lodge with a moat. It then became the seat of French imperial power and is still one of history's most opulent palaces. The legendary Hall of Mirrors is coated in silver, gold, and ornate chandeliers. According to PBS, the palace cost as much as $300 billion when adjusted for inflation. The property is packed with numerous salons, each themed with a Greek god. For example, the Salon of Mercury was the home to the official bedchamber of the king, where he was waited on, dressed, and fed with the finest of foods. Most of these salons feature gold leaf and masterfully painted ceilings. The grounds are riddled with fountains, canals, and geometric flower beds and groves. With almost 8 million annual visitors, Versailles hosts more tourists than even the Eiffel Tower. Number 2. Malbork Castle. Malbork Castle was constructed by German Teutonic Knights back in the 13th century, but in 1457 it was sold by the Bohemian mercenaries to King Casimir IV of Poland to subsidize the cost of the 13 Years' War. It served as a residence for Polish royalty until 1772, when Germans retook the castle. Located in modern-day Poland, the palace is a Polish historical monument and will be preserved for many generations. Located on the northwestern bank of the river Nogat, many royals across the ages traveled by boat and enjoyed luxurious river cruises in the temperate Polish summer. Poland is also renowned for its amber. I always pick up some amber jewelry for my admirers when I'm in Poland. And if you're keen, Marlborough Castle has a dedicated wing with its own amber exhibit. Number 1. Neuschwanstein Castle. Another German castle, Neuschwanstein, is located in Bavaria. If this stunning structure looks familiar, it's probably because Walt Disney used it as the model for Sleeping Beauty's castle at Disneyland. It was a finalist for the new 7 Wonders of the World and is truly one of the most iconic buildings on the planet. Conservative estimates claim that the cost of the castle would be $950 million in modern-day cash. The highly stylized castle was meant to impress visitors from across the world due to its location atop Mount Sailing. It is easily visible for many miles in every direction. Completed in 1886, the castle required an enormous amount of building materials. Between 1880 and 1881, builders used 465 tons of Salzburg marble, 1,550 tons of sandstone, 400,000 bricks, and 2,680 cubic yards of wood for scaffolding. Now the castle is open to visitors who can wind through its endless passageways and courtyards. And trust me, this place is truly fit for a king. So, what do you guys think? Which castle is your favorite? Which one would you live in, if any? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Oh, and maybe turn on post notifications. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some castle shopping to do. As always, I'm Mr. Luxury. Pip pip, de doodly doo.